$4 million real estate portfolio. Yeah, that's how much this guy's current real estate portfolio is worth. And I've actually met him, watched his YouTube videos, and heard how he literally went from homeless, sleeping in a tent, to where he is today. And his story is so inspiring, I thought, why don't I have this guy on my YouTube channel to spread some knowledge on how he built this impressive real estate portfolio and give us some tips on how we could do the same. So without further ado, here is Jason Bay.
Okay, JP, well, first of all, it's a huge honor to be here on your channel. Big fan of your show, love the things that you've been producing, so it's just so awesome to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, the current portfolio is worth about $4 million. Sounds weird to say that out loud, but I started out with absolutely nothing. Currently have 9 houses in the Northern California Bay Area, so this is where I invest. The first home I bought, the one with the 5 bedrooms, I only paid $203,000, something like that. So it was really cheap, and it's worth $500 now.
Damn.
Part of this is good luck too. I mean, buying houses near the bottom.
Very cool. So take me from house 1 to house 2.
I was renting out 4 bedrooms and just saving like crazy, continuing to hustle. I wanted to get into the next house, and I finally saved up enough to do so, at least I thought. I made an offer, it was a great deal, and I didn't have enough money. I was like $4,000 short. So I was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So I ended up selling my car. And I rode my bike and used public transportation for a year. But then as soon as winter rolled around, I was like debating if I regretted that decision or not. It was pretty cold. I was waking up at 4 in the morning.
Damn, man, that's dedication.
Yeah, it was like a 5-mile bike ride. I was in the best shape of my life, let me tell you.
That's awesome, man. So what are the finances on that second property and like structure?
So that second property I actually purchased in 2013 for $155,000. So on Zillow right now, it says it's worth $362,000. So the down payment on that one had to be 20% because it was an investment property. That's one of the other disadvantages of purchasing an investment property. If I could go back, I would move into these homes.
All right, so that second property is an investment property. So how did you get that cash flowing, and just what did all that look like?
That second property had 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It was not totally renovated, but it was kind of turnkey, and it already had a tenant in there. So all I really had to do was buy it and then start collecting rent.
Wow.
What I liked about it was that the rent that the existing tenant was paying was already several $100s more than the mortgage I was signing up for.
Wow, okay. So how does someone get started?
So for me, I think the most important thing was to save up money. What I did is I just got myself into a house hacking situation where I was renting a bedroom. That allowed me to live very cheap. And then I just tried as hard as I could to save as much of my money that I earn as possible. And then after about a year of saving, I actually had about $15,000 down payment. And then I was like, all right, I think I can go home shopping. So I think that's really the first key, is to be able to save up money.
That's awesome. Like, a lot of people think they're gonna be eating for 10 years or something, but I mean, anyone can take a year to get that down payment.
I think that's really the key. You have to be committed to what you're doing. You have to tell yourself, I want this and I'm gonna make it happen. I think the second thing you wanna really think about is your credit score. It allows you to get a better interest rate and kind of save some money.
Right.
And also, if your score is too low, you're not gonna get a loan at all, so there's that.
So what did income history look like? Like, did you have to have 2 years of income history? I know that's typically standard, right?
So I didn't actually have 2 years of income history, but I was a student the year before. I was able to write a letter of explanation saying, the reason I don't have 2 years of history is because I've only been working 1 year for the company, and then prior to that I was a student. And that actually worked.
Okay, interesting.
Or another thing you can do if you don't have 2 years of history is prove that you were in a similar line of work prior.
All right, so you're living frugally, you saved $15,000 while living in someone else's house. Is that the model you took going forward?
I made sure that I had a lot of bedrooms. It was a 5-bedroom house because I wanted to continue to house hack, so I was just looking for as many bedrooms as I could find.
Yeah.
And so I purchased this house and I instantly went out and rented the other 4 bedrooms. There was a lot of people living in the house.
So was that like an FHA loan for that first property?
It was an FHA loan for the first property. And later on, I ended up having to refinance out of it to get rid of the, it's not called PMI, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's the same exact thing. You're paying to insure the lender in case you default on the loan. At the time, it was worth it because it got me into the home. So I think anyone looking to buy their first home, don't be afraid of FHA. It's really a great way to start.
Well, I think even like for you to be able to get an FHA, take that situation into a property that's cash flowing for you, like while you're also paying, living there, that's amazing, man.
There are definitely sacrifices. There are gonna be people that drive you bonkers, and you just gotta keep telling yourself, it's worth it, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna buy more property. The funny thing is, I still house hack. I have tenants living in my house here, right now.
That's crazy, man. Hey, that's dedication.
And if I had a chance to go back, I don't think I would buy a giant 5-bedroom house as my first purchase, which still is good, but I think there's something better I could have done. And what that is to buy a small house, maybe 2 bedrooms, and just rent out one of the rooms. So what you want to do is you want to set yourself up in a situation where you can continuously move into new properties, get that low interest rate, and build your portfolio in a much cheaper way.
Wow, okay.
If you don't do that, the second house that you buy, you'll end up getting a investment loan, which has a much higher interest rate. You want me to tell you what I really liked about real estate first?
Yes.
I was walking around in this school, and it occurred to me that you can get rent from people in a higher amount than the dollar you would have to pay for the mortgage to own the home. This concept occurred to me, and I was like, well, wait a minute. That would mean the person living in your house that you're renting it to is buying you the home.
Yeah.
And then in 30 years, you own a home that you didn't pay for. And I didn't know there was like limits on loans or whatever, so I was like, I'm gonna do that like 1,000,000 times. I want 1,000,000 homes. I thought I had cracked the recipe for wealth. I started looking into it and I realized, oh, okay, this is called real estate investing. There's a bunch of people doing this. So I got 9 now, I'm almost to 1,000,000, getting there.
Oh yeah, you're close. Just a little ways to go.
So now I got 2 homes. I'm thinking, how do I get more? And that's where it starts to become a challenge because you need reserve funds in place. All of my loans, they're all the traditional fixed Fannie or Freddie Mae backed loans. And when you're getting those kind of loans, they start to hit you with something called a reserve requirement, is that as you grow your portfolio, the reserve requirement starts to get more and more challenging. So if you're on your 3rd home, that's easier than buying your 8th home. And they'll only let you get 10 loans. Once you get 10 loans, they cut you off.
Really?
And with each loan, you're only allowed to have up to 4 units. So you can have a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a 4plex. But as soon as you get 5, you need a commercial loan for that.
Wow.
And one more thing with that said, if your goal was to use traditional 30-year fixed interest rate loans, which you should be doing because those are the cheapest money in the world, the best loan you can get. Mm-hmm. If your goal with those loans is to have the most amount of units, what you would need to do is buy 4plexes every single time. Then you could have up to 40 units. So for the 3rd one for me, I was able to just continue to save. I was getting a little bit of cash flow from the existing property that I was renting, plus I was still house hacking, and I was able to get that 3rd one. It was after that 3rd property where it was like, oh man, I am out of money. The reserve requirements are too high, and I started to feel like I will never get another home. But what I was able to do is to leverage the existing assets through a cash out refinance. This is basically where you go back to the bank and you say, I want some new loans, but because the value of my home has gone up, plus I paid down some of the principal, I want to take some of that equity out of the home and put it in my bank account as cash. And then they'll draft up new loans for all these properties, and then you have some cash.
Okay, so I'm sure some of my viewers are interested in doing something similar to what you have accomplished. What would you recommend, or what are the steps they should take towards achieving that?
They're just starting out. Actually, you need to focus on having a job. I know that seems obvious, but a lot of people don't think of that as a first step. Mm-hmm. A lot of people like, oh yeah, I don't want a job. The job is the enemy. I get it. I don't want a job either, but it's definitely a good place to start if you want to buy real estate. So you want to save money, you want to work on your credit score, then you just start learning about real estate and looking for properties. And the main goal is you want to find something that makes sense. You need to know how much you can afford, what kind of rent you're going to get for it, and what your payment is going to look like. And don't forget about things like the cost of vacancy, the cost of repairs. You can't just look at, here's my mortgage, and here's my rent, and cool, I'm ahead. Because it doesn't work like that. There's definitely some additional expenses that will show up. One more bit of advice is you gotta stick to it. I think the big key is persistence. I think one thing that has helped me a lot is not like, oh yeah, I got all the right answers. I definitely don't have all the right answers. What I am is stubborn, and I know I want real estate, and I just keep on going. So
Nice.
Persistence is definitely key.
Yeah, so one of the things you mentioned was saving money to actually get that down payment for your first house. Do you have like some tips or something the audience can do to actually save?
I already mentioned house hacking, which is huge because one of the biggest expenses that you will ever have is your cost of living. The second thing that I would say, which was a huge trick for me, is not having a car payment. I can't tell you how helpful that has been for me. I drive a car that doesn't break down a lot, but is also a really cheap car. It has saved me so much money. And I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh man, I could totally buy a nice car right now. And then I don't. And I think that has been key.
So definitely a lot to take in. You know, you've accomplished something amazing. And like I said, I think everyone watching this video wants to accomplish something similar. I hope they do. I hope they are out there grinding, trying to accomplish a $4 million real estate portfolio. But really appreciate you coming on to my channel and spreading this knowledge and just helping my audience be as successful as possible, and me as well. You know, I'm taking this stuff in, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Believe me, the honor is all mine. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. We'll have another video. We'll collab on something else in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool.